know some of you guys are going to be upset because I keep putting out PvP videos, but this Team Battle Arena thing still has me entertained after a month, and that's probably never happened before in PvP, and it certainly did not happen for Otherworld Battle, which I still think needs a refresh, a tune-up, something, you know, and I think the devs should see by the success of Team Battle Arena that this is not really working because players just don't grind in this game mode nearly as much as they do, and it's not nearly as competitive as Team Battle Arena. So I want to drop some new strats for you that I've noticed, at least for this season. This season, I have to say I'm back in Vibranium, and the ban list is pretty lame. It is Gamma, but there are no Gamma used characters. Nobody uses Hulk for PvP, so it basically doesn't ban anyone of any consequence. Over in, I think it's Challenger, the ban list is basically just Thanos and one other character, but it essentially ends up being the same as it was the last 2 weeks. It bans the same characters, so it's actually a pretty big fumble, and whoever it is that chooses the bans needs to pay attention or needs to put something in the code or whatever to make sure that, you know, season over season the ban lists don't interact in a way that makes them essentially identical, because that's exactly what happened. Like last season in Challenger, it was you know, what is it, Power Cosmic, which banned Silver Surfer and Thanos, and then this time it's I believe it's Annihilators, which banned Silver Surfer again in Challenger, and then it's also Durability, which the only real relevant character it bans is Thanos, and I guess to a lesser extent Apocalypse, but that's basically it. It doesn't ban any support types, it doesn't ban any like good characters, so that's a pretty big screw up for them to you know, have all these different ability tags but not cross-reference them, to make sure that they don't actually end up banning the same characters season over season, because it's basically pretty boring. Then you get like a month of the same shit, right? Now over in Vibranium, because of the lack of bans, players just default to the you know, the most popular team. But some issues have arisen because of the cost. So this is one team, this is one new piece of tech that I want to highlight for you because I think it's really cool, and it actually uses a tier 2 character, which is pretty crazy. But basically, because of the cost of Knull being 50, and then you having to pair Knull with Agent Venom, you don't have a lot of cost left over, right? Because 50 and 25 is 75. So you actually can only field a 25 cost character. And most of the 25 cost characters, if you want to put 3 characters on a team, they suck. They're just not good. I mean, you could put somebody like Daredevil or Elektra, right? You could just put some sort of fodder. Or you can, some people are just putting like a support, right? And not a great support, you know, but a support, like maybe an America Chavez, or maybe, you know, something like that, right? And even some of the supports, if you filter by supports, are you know, already costing 30. Like you can't use Taskmaster because Taskmaster costs 30. You can use Yondu, but you can't use Ronan because Ronan costs 30. Same thing goes with the Shuri. So a lot of people are actually just doing this. They're just queuing these two up together. But if you include Black Cat, it's actually a better setup for a couple of reasons. So the first reason is you actually get a better leadership. You get 65% all attack instead of 60 from Knull, which is a little bit higher. But you also get the 35% ignore dodge. 35% ignore dodge is not bad at all. That's great. On top of that, remember her passive, all supervillain allies, all allies get their debuffs increased by 40%. So your Knull is going to apply debuffs with 40% greater, you know, power. And then her artifact effect, which we can pull up over here. Remember, if you have her Black Cat's artifact, it's going to give all allies, which is heroes and villains, damage to heroes and villains. So rather than having nothing, if you were or whatever kind of support, you can actually have an even harder hitting Knull. But it serves a dual purpose. It serves actually a secondary purpose, because all these other teams that are not going to use Black Cat, if you take a look at their setup, you can see Knull is in the leadership position. So there's Knull and M'Baku there for commander. You got Knull and M'Baku there. You got Knull and M'Baku. Okay, everyone's just running Knull and M'Baku. This one you can't actually see. But most people, when you see them, they're going to be running Knull with in the lead slot with 2 supports. And for the most part, it's M'Baku, right? Okay, sure. Now, what does it do? This guy's actually... So this guy caught on a little bit, and he actually moved it, and he made M'Baku lead, which is pretty weird, right? You're like, oh, why would you do M'Baku lead? Like, what is M'Baku's lead anyways? I don't actually remember what it is. I think it's like 24% all attack. Yeah, it's 30% physical attack. So it's like, why would you take 30% physical attack over 60% attack, right? Doesn't make any sense. Well, the reason is positioning. Yeah, positioning. What happens at the beginning of the fight when Knull is in the lead versus Knull not being in the lead, it means that the enemy Knull is going to primarily focus his attacks on my black cat. That's right. And then my Knull doesn't take much of the damage. And then my Knull gets to hit his Knull because, you know, there's nobody else to target because there's only 2, and you have an advantage. So I really like this tech. I think this is really cool. Positioning absolutely matters. You can ask hardcore Alliance Conquest players about it, but they often say, like, you know, when I'm fighting Adam versus Wolverine, I make sure my Adam is facing their Wolverine. Like, I'll move positions, move him from the left to the right to mirror, or to not mirror, I guess, to put them, you know, parallel to one another to make sure that you get the right target. You can also see this in some of these teams where you move Carnage and Colossus around to zone in on the right target, or you even switch Carnage and Silver Surfer leadership to make sure that you get the attacks in the right position. My 5th team I'm not really happy with right now. I think it's kind of just bad. I really want to use Adam because I like Adam nowadays. It's weird, I know. But I think the rest of the team is quite weak and also quite susceptible to a speed counter. So like an Echo, Deadpool, Quicksilver team or something like that would just chop me up. One thing I also want to point out, because I have seen a lot of people make this mistake, Kahori's support. So Kahori is a pretty rare support that I think a lot of people just glossed over because she came with the What If update, which is one of the most lackluster updates of that year. But Kahori is actually a really cool support because she cannot be countered by Molecule Man. First of all, that's pretty important. And secondly, her passive, her support only applies to heroes. So I've seen some people try to use Kahori with villains. Doesn't do anything, unfortunately. So to superheroes, she increases the damage dealt to targets with the debuff, the remove all debuffs effect, and with the debuff removed for instincts effect. So anytime an opponent has cleanse up, Kahori is going to give your team who's attacking 50% increased damage. That's huge. Those are massive, massive, massive buffs. So yeah, very, very good stuff there. This is also why in some of the mirror matches, you can actually see Adam not running a cleanse. So there are some teams that you'll see where, for example, and you're probably wondering what the heck is going on there, you'll see teams like this running with Hela. Hela lead is giving him 60% energy attack, but more importantly, Hela lead is making him stronger against heroes like himself in the mirror match. But then because there's no debuff cleanse here, he still gets debuff cleanse on his 2nd skill, so it's not like he doesn't have any cleanse, but he doesn't have it up for as long, so he's not going to take that additional damage for as frequent of a time. It's a bit risky because you can then get debuff locked. You can get like kind of stun locked by debuffs. And for those of you that played the game a long time ago, you remember Spider-Man versus Wolverine doing the whole debuff lock thing. But yeah, those are kind of the new pieces of tech that I wanted to bring out and show to you guys. The Hela comp with Sentry is mostly for mirror matches. And what I would say in general for your team comps is decide on what kind of matchups you want to do. Like, are you chasing the Unicorn? Are you chasing the 3-0 Domination bonus, which is riskier but it's like a greater risk reward? That's what I do, and that's why I don't have a perfect win rate. I'm 18-2 because I've missed on some of my mirror matches. A lot of them end up being coin flips, and you either win big or you lose. You can play it safer. If you're playing it safer, I probably wouldn't queue up Hela with Sentry. I would move Hela over to an Adam team, and then I would put 2 supports with Sentry, like Beast and Coulson, something like that, right? Or you can't do Victorious, it actually costs too much. So something like Beast and Coulson, or 2 other 25 cost supports. This is if you're not going for a mirror match. If you're not going for a mirror match, then I would do something like this. If you are going for a mirror match, then I think this setup is actually a little bit better, and it is what I do. And so I'll show you what I would do if I wasn't, where I would position teams if I wasn't mirror matching, so you guys can have an idea of what it is. First off, I want to search for somebody that's usually around 100 points higher than me. That's usually what I try to do, so Buttons is a good one here. Okay, Buttons is running the exact same teams. So this is not really good for me if I wanted to mirror match. I'm not going to fight him, but I'll show you what I would do if I wasn't mirror matching. So there's basically only 2 strategies. There's multiple strategies, but the 2 strategies that I employ are either mirror match, which is you match up the teams exactly, and you just assume that their hidden team is the same as your hidden team. In this case, I'm guessing his hidden team is going to be something like Silver Surfer and Adam and nothing else. So I'm pretty confident that that team will beat them. I'm actually not super confident, to be honest with you, because Carnage has type disadvantage. But they don't have a support, whereas I have Colossus, so it's probably going to be pretty difficult for them. But this is what I would do for the most part if I was doing a mirror match, or I would move this down here, right? It just depends. Those are the only two that don't match up exactly, but the rest of them match up exactly. You match up, and it's not matching up the whole team. It's just matching up the strongest characters. So you match up your Sentry to their Sentry, your Knull to their Knull, your Wolverine to their Wolverine. That's how you do mirror matching. If you're not doing mirror matching, then what you want to do is basically choose their 3 weakest teams and put your 3 best teams up against them, and just try to win. So that's, if I was actually fighting buttons, I wouldn't do mirror match. I would do my best team versus their worst team. So I would move Sentry down here to take out Wolverine because I have Hela. Wolverine is tough, but he's usually the 3rd weakest team. So that's what I would do there. I would move this Silver Surfer Carnage team probably down here, or I would move Wolverine. It's kind of 50-50. And then Knull would probably take out this team up here, or you can take out Sentry, because Sentry with Hela is basically just a naked Sentry versus villains. Sentry can still beat Knull, even with no supports, because of the way his debuffs work and the way he spams them, but it's much less likely. So this is what I would do if I was to attack him without it being a mirror match. Let me look at another one here. So this one is more advantageous for me for a clear mirror match, right? Because here his Molecule Man is not actually doing much because I'm not relying on those buffs. I can do a clear mirror match there more or less, but I have magic instead of Colossus, which I think is better. And then the rest of it is like this. So this would be kind of the mirror match setup. The non-mirror match setup would be something like Knull goes for Adam, Sentry goes for Wolverine, and then Adam goes for whatever this hidden team is, Silver Surfer and Carnage, probably something like that. But again, it depends on how comfortable you are with your teams and what kind of setups you have and what kind of teams you have. But I'm going to show you guys the mirror match now, show you guys the potential of this strategy. And we're basically going for, this is kind of like high risk, high reward. We're going for a 3-0. I'm trying to 3-0 this guy to get more points. The downside is if I lose, the downside is I'm more likely to lose with this setup. So it is high risk, high reward. And so your results may vary. So if you're struggling with this game mode, don't do mirror matches, right? Just figure out what your 3 best teams are by performance and also by like tier list ranking. It's usually Knull, Sentry, and then one other, right? It's Knull, Sentry, and then it's going to be like Wolverine, or it's going to be Adam. Silver Surfer doesn't do as well because he can't get paired with AV, with Carnage, or sorry, with Agent Venom and Carnage. You can't do both there. I mean, you can if you don't do Knull, but then you want to do Knull for this. But some people also have success running Knull with different supports. So you can try, if you want to try something different, I can give you guys some other tips here. Oh, they're running Hela instead. This is a really weird lineup because if you're going to, this is good for me because the mirror match Hela doesn't benefit them, but Colossus benefits me. So there you go. So I get the domination bonus. The domination bonus means that I put about 50 points on the line, because if I had won, think about it, if I win without the domination bonus, I win 45 points, right? So if I had lost to this guy, because mirror matching gives you a coin flip on every fight rather than 3 guaranteed wins and 2 guaranteed losses, I'm putting 45 points plus whatever I lose for not winning, which is usually about 10 points, right? So I was putting about 55 points, maybe 55 to 60, and you can see it here. I attacked Mangus and I lost, and I attacked Commander and I lost. So it's actually a little bit more, right? I'm risking anywhere from like 55 to 75 points by going for the domination. But on the other side, you can see here 78, 83, 87. I'm trying to swing for big chunks of points with the domination bonus, and then just there was 75. If you don't do the domination bonus, as you can see, fix this game, I only got 28. So the difference is pretty big. So I'm risking 50 to 75 points if I lose, but I'm gaining about 50 more points if I win. Now, this strategy is helpful, I think, for players, and I did introduce the domination. They did introduce the domination point bonus, like, I think 2 seasons ago, so it is something you can take advantage of. But what I would recommend to you, if you're very, very low on the rankings, like if you find yourself way at the bottom, then I would say your competition is going to be weaker generally. Not that anybody here is weak. We're in the top 100, but I'm saying if you're like thousands, you're down, way down, right? What I would say is, if you're not struggling with this game mode, but you want to, you know, min-max, you want to optimize more, I would say do the domination bonus strategy, the mirror match domination bonus strategy. Do that for the first 4 or 5 fights, assuming that you're winning, right? If you're losing the very first mirror match domination thing, stop. Just right away stop, because it's too risky. But if you win the first 2, you win the first 3, you win the first 4, stop there. The mistake that I made yesterday was basically that. Is I won my first 5. You can see here, I won my first 5 dominations, and then I got greedy, and I kept going for the strategy. I got 2 more, so I was 7. I got 7 dominations in a row. I should have stopped. Actually, the commander one was not domination. I should have stopped there on commander, but I didn't, and then I lost. So that cost me. And then I doubled down on the domination bonus. I bricked it again, and then I bricked it again, and then just now. So my advice to you, and the strategy that I'm probably going to employ, is 5 of my matches I mirror match, go for the domination, and then my last 5 I don't. I instead just hunt my 3 best teams versus their 3 worst teams. So for example here, if I was going to attack Jay Long, which I'm not, here I wouldn't mirror match him anymore. I would then, you know, just one more time here, guys, I would put Knull I'd probably put Knull here. Yeah, that makes most sense. I would put Sentry down here, and then I would probably, yeah, I'd probably leave this the rest of the way. And Wolverine has a chance there with Sentry only having Colossus. I think it's kind of a weird team. Wolverine actually has a chance to kill Sentry. So Wolverine's a pretty interesting character. He can actually get lucky, and he can punch up and kill Sentry and Knull. So it depends on the team that you set him up with. But if you put, for example, if you're trying to punch up and you're having some success, but you can't really clutch out your 3rd team, what you can do is, for Wolverine, you can augment the team. You can change the team depending on who you're fighting. So if you're fighting if you're going to put Wolverine against Sentry, you can move your Hela over to Wolverine's team, right? So you can do this and move Hela over, and this will give you a better chance against Sentry specifically. And so if I was going to fight that guy again and do that, I would probably do this, because his Sentry only has Colossus, which is created, like, I think it's too risky, and it doesn't really make any sense to do it like that, but it is what it is. Then if I was using Wolverine to fight somebody's Knull, what I would then do is I would put in Nick Fury, right? I would do something like this. And then this way, you have a huge buff against villains. You have a huge damage tick against villains. And you can even go with something more bold, right? And you can double down. This way, you're not going to have as much cleanse. You got to be careful. But again, you're really trying to punch up, so you have to take big risks, right? You have to take some risks when you're punching up, but this gives you a huge advantage versus villains. Now, the thing is, you don't want to leave your team like this for people to attack you. Remember, the team that you set is what opponents see. So if opponents see this, they're just going to clown on you with a Wolverine that doesn't have, right? Like the mirror match, this is worse against the mirror match. Because if I come in with Magic and Wasp, I'm going to clean the floor. I'm going to clean the floor with you because you don't have any buffs against heroes. You have buffs against villains, right? So you got to be careful not to set these teams forever, right? Set them to attack, right? Move them around, whatever, augment them to attack, but then make sure you come back at the end after your 10 fights and you set them again. It's different than Timeline Battle. With Timeline Battle, the team that enemies see is always the last team that you attacked with. So if I attack with this team by accident, this is the team that will be set for my account. But I believe with Team Battle Arena, because you can set your team at any time and you can press, set, and you can press save, that will refresh your team for opponents to see differently. And so that's an important thing to remember. Also, just a small tip, if you check your win-loss record and you find yourself getting attacked a lot in a short span of time, either by the same player or by different players, move your teams around. Just shuffle your teams around a little bit, just to confuse enemies so they don't get used to you. Because what some players will do is they'll not only farm you, but they'll set up their teams to match the order of your teams so that it's just a one button press. But if you do this, you can catch people off guard. I've done this, and they attack me once and win, and then the next time they attack me and lose because they weren't paying attention and they went through the screen too fast, and they ended up with the wrong. They went through this screen too fast, and they ended up with the wrong setup, the wrong organization. If I was mirror matching him, actually, this is what I would do. But they went through the wrong setup, and then they ended up getting a loss instead of a dub. So anyways, hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully the devs, fix the this thing here. I think that this is the only thing. I think this is a really, really good game mode. I think it's really, really close to being perfect, which is rare for me to say in MFF. But I think they just need to do a few more tweaks with the cost. I think they need to add a few more characters to the cost tweaks, and they need to maybe bump up some of the cost tweaks even more, or add more banned characters, because I really want, listen up, I really want, and there are probably other people out here that really want to, I really want a tier 4 Electra or Daredevil for this game mode and have them shine. I really want an excuse. I want any excuse to tier 4 Echo to use as a lead for a speed team. I really, really want an excuse to tier 4 Yelena and Red Guardian to put together a Thunderbolts team for this game mode. I genuinely, really do. I really want a tier 4, X23 for the same reason, to put together a team, right? But there's no incentive right now. There's no incentive right now because they're still leaving the window too open. I think they need to accept that there's just too many characters in the game now. And the thing is, I understand for players that don't have all these characters built up, it's frustrating. But there are other leagues, right? That's kind of the whole point of the game, right? The whole point of these leagues, not the whole point of the game, sorry, the whole point of these leagues, right? So if you don't want to have half of your PvP roster banned, don't go to Vibranium. I don't know. I understand that it's a constant push-pull between, you have to ban the characters to get other characters to be used by players, versus the character is really expensive to build, like Knull, like Sentry. You have to let players use the character. I understand that there's always, expensive characters should be usable versus let us use everybody else. I don't know. It's either ban the characters that are overused or give buffs to the characters that are underused. And that's where I think they should come up with more buffs for Otherworld Battle, but I'll actually leave that for another video because I want to expand on that. Anyways, boys, hopefully this has been helpful. Hit me up in the comments down below. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching the video. Smash the like button if you enjoy the content. I really hope we get sneak peeks soon, man. I am drowning here without content. But I'll see you in the next one. Take care.